right, welcome to another deep dive. Today we're tackling something a little different, a classic soukous track actually.
Oh, nice.
Andaya by Franco and the TPOK Jazz Band.
A little fast.
It's from their album En Colère, Volume 1, which translates to In Anger, Vol 1.
Yeah.
So, already we're getting a sense of maybe some heavy themes here. We'll be using a breakdown and analysis from the Daateku channel to guide our deep dive. So, big thanks to them. Really interesting stuff they've put together. So, for those listening who maybe aren't super familiar with soukous music, it was a huge EE genre in Zaire, now the DRC, back in the 70s and 80s.
Absolutely.
Super upbeat, danceable, but often with some pretty deep lyrics underneath. Kind of like hiding some serious stuff under the surface of a party.
Yeah, very much a reflection of the time.
Right, and speaking of the times, this was all happening during Mobutu Sese Seko's regime. So there was a lot of political tension, social change. The backdrop wasn't exactly all sunshine and roses.
Heavy stuff.
But Franco's music kind of gave people this escape, a way to, just let loose for a bit.
Yeah, music can be such a powerful release.
Absolutely. So Andaya itself was released in 1980.
Okay.
And it was part of this really popular album.
Huge.
With other hits like Tacoma Bakamarati Pamba.
Love that one.
Oh, yeah. And Tokobola Sentiment.
Another classic.
But get this. On that same album, there's even a song that's basically an advertisement for a tailor shop.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
It's amazing. It just shows you Franco's connection to the everyday, the community.
Totally. It's like he's just one of the guys, even with all the fame.
Yeah, makes him more relatable, less of a distant figure.
Exactly. So before we get too deep into the song itself, let's introduce the players, so to speak.
Okay.
Who are the key people behind Andaya?
Well, of course, you've got Franco leading the TPOK Jazz Band.
Right.
The mastermind.
The song was actually written by Mpundi Decca.
Yeah, a brilliant songwriter.
And then on lead vocals, we have Ntessa Dallianst.
Oh, with that powerful voice, so much emotion.
But you can't forget the backup singers on this track.
No way.
Medilu System and Joski Kimbukuta.
Those harmonies.
So haunting.
They really set the tone right from the start with those opening lines. Oh, my dear. Oh, my dear. I want you to know that I have grown thin because of your love.
Ugh, chills every time.
Right. Like immediately, this isn't going to be your typical happy-go-lucky love song.
Yeah, no, this is some serious heartbreak territory.
And what strikes me is how direct the singer is about his pain,
Yeah.
No beating around the bush here.
It's raw emotion laid bare.
So the song tells the story of the singer who's just pining for this woman, Andaya.
Okay.
But she keeps choosing other men over him.
Oh, ouch.
And it's not just one or two guys.
Each verse, it's like he's listing them off. Mr. Madonna, Ndinga, Makoso, Manzungu. It's almost like a chant emphasizing his rejection over and over.
Yeah, that repetition. It's almost dizzy.
Like, was Andaya really that, fickle?
Right.
Or is this more about the singer's perception, amplifying his own heartache, making it even more dramatic in his mind?
I mean, it's definitely from his perspective, right? We only get his side of the story.
Exactly. Which brings up the question, was there even a real Andaya?
The mystery.
Fans have debated that for years. We may never know for sure.
Probably not.
But here's what's really interesting. The song, it goes beyond just a simple heartbreak narrative.
Okay.
It makes you think about the pressures on women in 1980s Zaire, especially when it came to marriage.
Yeah, that societal context is so important.
Could Andaya represent the limited choices women faced back then? Maybe it wasn't just about her being fickle, but about the pressures she was under?
That's a really insightful perspective. It adds a whole other layer to the song.
So we're not just talking about a broken heart, we're talking about love and relationships within a very specific social and political context.
Exactly. And it makes you wonder, what were those specific pressures that women were facing back then?
One thing that really jumps out at me from these lyrics is how open the singer is about his vulnerability.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he's not holding anything back. Lines like, I have grown thin since I always sob in tears for lacking someone to marry me. That hits hard, you know?
It really does.
It's not just sadness, it's like despair.
Yeah, like he's wasting away.
Wasting away, literally.
Yeah, it's almost like his emotional pain is becoming physical.
Right.
And then later in the song he says, I have ended up wondering if I still have a place in your heart.
That one gets me every time.
It just shows how much he wants to understand Nandaya, even though she's hurting him.
He's looking for answers desperately.
But he never gets them, you know?
Nope. And that's where the repetition we talked about earlier, it adds to that feeling of unresolved longing, you know?
Absolutely.
Every time he lists another man, another name, it's like a fresh wound.
Reopening that pain again and again.
Yeah, it's almost like he's doing it to himself, you know?
What do you mean?
Like, maybe by reliving that rejection over and over, he's trying to somehow make sense of it all.
Oh, I see, yeah.
But then there's this line that, to me, kind of changes the whole tone of the song. To be honest with you, Andaya, you make me hate falling in love again.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
It's like, he's given up, you know?
He's reached his limit.
Love equals pain for him now.
Exactly.
And it makes me think about, you know, we were talking about the pressures on women in Zaire back then.
Yeah.
But what about the pressures on men?
Interesting.
Was it common, you know, for a man to be this open about his heartbreak in music?
Yeah, was this typical?
Or was this something unique about Franco, about his style?
Good question.
And thinking about the context, you know, this was Mobutu's year. It was a time of huge change, but also a lot of oppression.
So, for someone to be so emotionally raw, it could be a big statement.
Both personally and maybe even politically.
Right, like a subtle form of social commentary.
Makes you wonder if people listening back then, did they pick up on that? Was it just a popular love song or something more?
Yeah, did it spark conversations?
About gender roles, about societal expectations?
Music has that power, you know?
For sure.
It can be entertaining, but also thought-provoking.
Yeah, it can sneak in these ideas that might not be acceptable otherwise.
Subversive almost.
And even if Franco wasn't intentionally trying to make a statement, the song still raises those questions, you know?
Absolutely.
Like, what did Nandaya actually want? Yeah. Was she trapped by her circumstances?
Or making the best of limited choices.
We only get one side of the story, and it's clearly biased.
Right. We're missing half the picture.
And it just adds to the mystery.
Keeps people talking. Even today.
Exactly. It forces us to think, to imagine different possibilities.
That's what makes it so captivating.
And keeps it relevant, you know, all these years later.
For sure.
You know, this whole conversation has got me thinking, we haven't even touched on the music itself.
Oh, right. The actual music.
I've been so focused on the lyrics and the context.
I got sidetracked.
But Franco and the TPOK Jazz Band were incredible musicians.
Some of the best.
So let's dive into that now.
All right.
What are some things you've noticed about the music that, contribute to the overall feeling of Andaya? It's like the guitars, they're so central to Suku's, but they're not always like super upbeat in Daya.
Right.
Sometimes it's almost like they're crying out, you know, especially during those verses.
Yeah, it's amazing how Franco does that.
Yeah.
Uses the music to reflect the sadness in the lyrics.
Oh.
When the tempo's upbeat, there's this undercurrent of longing, heartache.
And the horns, they add this whole other level of melancholy, you know?
Well, for sure.
It's like they're empathizing with the singer.
Yeah, like they're feeling his pain too.
It's really something.
And then the way the music kind of like swells and then pulls back.
Oh, yeah.
It's like the ebb and flow of emotions,
Wow. Yeah, it's so subtle, but it makes a huge difference.
Definitely.
You know, it's funny thinking about this song now, all these years later.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder, like, how would Nandaya be received if it came out today?
That's a good question.
Would people still connect with it in the same way?
Well, I mean, things have changed a lot, right?
Yeah.
Since the 80s. I mean.
Right, like society's views on love and relationships and
gender roles, all that.
Gender roles, yeah, they've evolved a lot.
Time.
So, like, would people still sympathize with the singer?
Yeah.
Or would they, I don't know, maybe judge him a little more?
Maybe see him as possessive or something.
Yeah, exactly.
It's hard to say.
It is.
But what's cool about Andaya is that it's still so open to interpretation. And I think that's part of why it's still so so powerful, you know?
For sure. It definitely challenges us to think critically about those issues, you know, about the singer, about Nandaya, about the whole context.
It's more than just a love song,
We're
right?
way more.
It's a social commentary.
Yeah, it's a reflection of a specific time.
And a conversation starter, even today.
Exactly. And all of that comes from Franco, you know.
Oh, he was a genius.
He created something that's both timeless and timely.
For sure.
Well, I think we've really gone deep on Nandaya, haven't we?
I think so, yeah.
Explored the lyrics, the history, the music.
Whole package.
Even thought about how it relates to today's world.
Definitely a fascinating deep dive.
It really has been.
And hopefully our listeners, enjoyed listening to us as much as we enjoyed talking about it.
Oh, I know I did.
Yeah.
And maybe, for those of you listening, this deep dive will make you want to go back and listen to Nandaya again. You know? Pay attention to everything we've talked about.
Hear it with new ears.
See what stands out to you now.
Exactly.
Because that's the beauty of art, isn't it?
It is,
It's
yeah.
open to different interpretations.
Everyone connects with it in their own way.
It keeps the conversation going.
And hopefully, this is just the start of that conversation for some people.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So there you have it, a deep dive into Nandaya.
A song that is so much more than just a catchy tune.
More than meets the ear, for sure.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us on this journey.
And until next time,
Keep exploring
keep questioning.
and keep those ears open to the music all around you.
Absolutely.
Matelanga distance la bolingo ona bala e comme passion nazangi chéri na komine konuna na kondio talanga na komiko sila boye na kondio pitoli na misonga na kolela libala na komiko mituna soki nazali na esika na motema na yo ndaya olongolanga motema ya kolinga ona bala ekoma pasio nazangi sheri onga na kolela nakondi yo talanga nakomi kosila boye nakondi yo pitoli na misonga na kolela libala nakomi komituna soki nazali na esika na motema na yo naya olongolanga motema ya kolinga ona bala ekoma pasio nazangi sheri onga na kolela mama chutila mbundu kwela manona mama ikwela kwa midakapo ikwela kwa midakapo mama chutila mbundu kwela unungani kwela kwa milwambo mama chutila mbundu kwela yandinga mama ikwela kwa midakapo ikwela kwa midakapo mama chutila mbundu kwela mama chutila mbundu kwela ikwela pele pele ule mukambundu tia mama kikwela kwa midyakako mama kikwela kwa midyakako kikwela kwa midyakako kako, ikwela kwa midakako, mama otutila mundu kwela. Unungani kwela ya kilengi, mama otutila mundu kwela mazungu. Mama, ikwela kwa midakako, ikwela kwa midakako, mama otutila mundu kwela. Mama otutila mundu kwela, ikwela kwela, ikwela kwela. Tuyeye ulemuka mundu tia tia mama, ikwela kwa midakako. Mama, ikwela kwa midakako, ikwela kwa midakako, mama otutila mundu kwela. Unungani kwela kwa mindesa, mama otutila mundu kwela ya situ. Mama, ikwela kwa midakako, ikwela kwa midakako.